And I think there's a very small herd here, just moving around in the bottom of this drainage system, which is obviously quite difficult for us, but hopefully, if this is a male or a female elephant, I can't quite tell just yet, hopefully it's going to keep moving forward. And well, then it will hopefully poke its head out so that we can actually see what it looks like. Now, today we've been chatting quite a bit about the movement of the various animals, and Larry was wondering how far can an elephant sort of roam around. Now, Larry, it could depend on a number of different things. In this area, the animals don't need to move great distances because there is an abundance at the moment of water, lovely new vegetation around. However, I reckon that they're probably not traveling more than about 30 or 40 miles a day. Even that maybe is quite a push. But then you get to areas like Namibia, and when the sort of dry season comes upon them, the animals have to travel massive distances in order to find sort of new food, very much like the wildebeest do, their great migrations in the Serengeti or in the Mara, wherever you may be. There's various places that they will move around in. Now, there, I reckon, and I've heard stories of elephants traveling well over 60, 70 miles in a day or so. But they can just keep going. Remember, there's all these ancient migratory sort of paths and places to go where there will be water, where there will be food at certain times of the year that have been passed down. All that information has been passed down from matriarchs to their daughters, and then, of course, down to their granddaughters. And, of course, that information is very valuable. I think what we'll do is let's try go up around to the next bend, and possibly we'll see them down just below in the drainage system. But we'll have to get it in reverse to go anyway. Finally, I'm so happy because I've been itching to see an elephant since we've been back, and, well, the mammals have been hiding away. Right. Ooh. This is going to be quite tricky. We're going to have to do a bit of maneuvering. So I'm going to jump back across to James, who's got a very interesting little critter to show you.
Right, we have a little millipede here, everybody. And the millipedes, much like the tortoises, like to come out at this time of the day. And those tortoises that we were looking at earlier, Conor McGregor and Boris the Beast, they're also not above eating the odd millipede. But the great predators of these, of course, the burrowing scorpions and the civets. Now you might be saying to yourself, where is James? And the answer is that he is currently behind the lens on account of the fact that David has run back to the camp to get himself a jacket. It's quite cold. So if the focus goes a little wonky, the camera starts shaking, the animal manages to escape from the frame, that is because the world's most incompetent film cameraman is now on camera. And not only that, I have got the backpack wedged up against my leg, so I'm unable to move, not mean. Herbert, can you see any sign of David? He's coming back. Okay, we're all right, everybody. Luckily, we have a subject that is not particularly mobile. Let's get a look in at his, rather impressive leggies there. Oh, he's eating some dry plant matter. There we go, that's excitement. And there's another millipede coming in. Can you believe it? Look at that, almost undetected from the left-hand side, crawling underneath the big one. I've no idea what's going on here. One could be male, one could be female. I don't think they're hermaphroditic. But that, everybody, is what a millipede eats. Dead or dying plant material. And so often we say that to you, but very seldom do we see the actual devouring of rotting plant flesh. Now, David, as I'm doing your job for you, maybe you should do mine for me. Could I ask you to take over gently?
I certainly can.
There you are, David.
All right.
Oh, hold on. David is taking control, everyone. There we are. There, now you see we'll have a proper picture. Excellent. Right, here we go. Now, where is that other little thing? I don't know where that little one's gone. We're about to go for a short break, everybody, so when you come back, don't go anywhere. Taylor will still be with the elephant, I hope. Jamie will hopefully have some lions, and we'll be finding out what these millipedes are up to. I hope you're all enjoying the advert break, everybody. Obviously, there is no real advert break at all. Now, the great joy of being where I am now is that it's sheltered underneath this bush. Wasn't that cool? We saw it pick up a leaf, David. Mm. Yes. It was quite astounding. Oh, don't do that. It's got a bit terrified now. It's making a dump, David. Do you see that? Mm. Not only did you see that happen? It opened its bottom and pushed out a small piece of dung. And why shouldn't it? I can't believe I inspire that also in millipedes. Not only every impala I've ever looked at, every cat, but millipedes as well. Now it's unraveling. Isn't that cool? There is a massive, massive source of food. If you're able to eat dead and dying plant material, well, there is this huge source of food, of course, especially in the wet season. And I suppose the largest eaters of plant detritus and that sort of thing would be the fungus, or fungi. We've had some wonderful time today with some very slow-moving creatures. Excellent. Right. I think something that is far more, shall we say, interesting for a lengthy period is the thing that Taylor is sitting with. Go and have a look.
We finally managed to get a better view of some of these elephants, and from what I can count, I've only seen 3 elephants here, and I'm wondering if it's not the same 3 that I actually saw yesterday afternoon at about 11 o'clock or so. Because I saw a mom and 2 calves, and it very much seems like that, and there's definitely a possibility that it could be them. Like I said, the elephants aren't really moving around too much at the moment. Well, they have moved quite a bit from the northern Sabi sands, and, well, like the rest of the animals, they've either gone up into the Manuleti or they've gone down to the Sabi and the Sand River, where they are frolicking about in the water and all the lovely vegetation that grows on the big banks of those lovely rivers. But for now, we've just got a small group. Perhaps they've come from the north and coming further south to go and join the rest down in the southern sector of the Sabi Sand. Or maybe they're on their way for a Christmas holiday into the Kruger National Park. That's what we used to do growing up as a kid. But there is a couple of them, like I said, but it's making it quite difficult for us to really be able to see them as they hide behind all these wonderful trees. But nonetheless, at least a brief view of an elephant is a good one, seeing as though we haven't been seeing them. Here we go, one sneaking out again. Now this looks like the mom. I suspect that this is the mother. This is like it's the largest one of the 3 that are here. But the silly marula tree is in our way. How dare it? And off goes the other youngster. Looks like I didn't actually see very well. Maybe a young boy making his way back towards mom. Off you go. lovely. The birds have started chatting away now. Like you saw Jamie doing, putting her rain covers on. The rain is definitely sort of picking up. There's a big mist coming across the skies. Ooh, watch your step there. And we're going to be coming back out of an ad break again shortly. But we've still got a couple of seconds to go. Hello, beautiful. Lovely young boy. Maybe it's only boys that are here. I could be mistaken as well. Yes, come out towards us, because we can't go we won't see anything if you go down there. And the dreaded black line. What we'll do is we're just going to hang tight here, and then we'll reposition in just a moment. They're actually coming out towards us. How great is that? Welcome back, and I hope that if you did also maybe go and make a sandwich to accompany your cup of tea that you had earlier, I hope it was delicious. But you're back with us now, and you won't believe what we found. We've managed to get an even better view of some elephants that are lurking about the drainage line. Let's see if I can actually show you now. We might have to just be a little bit patient. Oh, there we go. He is going to pop out right in front of us, so you've just got to keep looking straight ahead. And now initially I first thought that it was maybe a herd of 3 that I'd seen yesterday, but I'm going to change my mind. I think it could just be a group of boys, because the one that was bashing about the vegetation, which I initially thought was a female, was actually the one that's just popped past the vehicle. But we'll wait patiently, because there are a few more coming out. And well, we'll just have to see when we actually get a clear view who's who in the zoo. Oh, I've unplugged myself. Make sure that I don't do that. Let's see who you are. Oh no, there's a female here. Let me poke my nose forward again so we can have a look at this beautiful girl coming towards us. And that's the problem now in winter, is that everything's got so thick, and when everything is hiding away from you, it makes it very difficult to see what's actually going on. But I think these elephants have heard about the drought of elephants that we're having up here, and they've decided to hang around this morning. And that's fine, to start off a little bit slow, just have a sneak peek of a trunk, a foot. And then now to see their entire body as well. Here comes a little one, just following behind Mom. Maybe it is the same group, but I think the ones I saw she had younger calves, so maybe it's another group. Hard to keep tabs on the elephants. But if they continue going in the direction that they're going, they're actually going to pop right out on a road in a couple of minutes, which will be fantastic. And then, well, we'll really get an opportunity to see how large and graceful these animals really are. But look at that, disappearing into the thicket of trees. And they'll go through anything. Nothing really bothers an elephant with the thick skin that they've got covering their entire body. So they'll push through thorn trees. They'll push trees over to get past them. Prickly branches, tickling grasses. None of that really bothers an elephant too much. I wish I had skin like that. It would definitely help on the bushwalk. But it seems as though they have just stopped now to have a little bite to eat. Now, hopefully we'll catch him again. Now we're looking just at the 3 of them, and Alana, you are wondering if this is what we call a breeding herd. Technically, yes. I suppose more than one elephant could easily be described as a breeding herd. However, there's only one elephant that is actually breeding. So I was just looking behind me. I have no mirrors to try and move around. So I wouldn't quite call this a breeding herd, because it seems to be mom and her 2 offspring, one younger one, and that bull might not even be related to her. Maybe it's just a young bull that's joined up for companionship along his journey of eventually leaving a herd, which is a tough process for these young elephant bulls. But let's see if we can get another look. So a breeding herd is technically made up of just females that are closely related, so they could be grandmothers and then their daughters and then the sisters and the aunts and you name it, all of the above. But you often get these small little satellite parties as well. Maybe they're tailing a bigger herd. There could be a herd of 50 elephants just up ahead. I'm going to try and get ahead of them, I think. And I think what we'll do is we'll try and turn around, unless this young bull is going to cooperate and stand still. Remember, we've got the rain roofs on. The rain is starting to come down. I'm sure you can see it. There's a whole herd of elephants. That's fantastic. So it was a satellite party of elephants following a bigger herd. That's amazing. Oh, fantastic. Now we just need to find a little gap here. This is so cool. You know, we say this because it'd be something along those lines, but to actually be right is always quite nice. Let's see how we're going to get a view. What I'm going to do, I think I'm going to poke my bum over here, get in there, and we'll just have to look straight ahead of us. And like I said, it's a bit of an obscured view because the vegetation is so thick at the moment. But what I'm hoping is that the other 3 we've just seen are sort of coming in this direction. So maybe they cross right in front of the road. We'll have to just keep an eye out for them. But this is wonderful. I can hear lots of branches breaking in the distance. I can see a couple of trees shuffling around. So I reckon this is a decent size. Oh, there's one elephant coming right here. And it's... Hello. Have you never seen a roof before? And this is the interesting thing, is that some of these elephants, this is that young boy we saw initially, maybe haven't seen roofs before. They don't seem to be too common up here in the northern Sabi Sand, but if you go down south, the elephants are quite accustomed to them, whether it be by transporting guests during the day to try and evade the heat of the sun, or well, some of the lodges actually just use roofs permanently, which can make it quite difficult. And I'm just keeping an eye out. I'm leaning out the other side of the vehicle, just making sure that mom and the younger calf don't sneak up on us like that young bull did. But isn't this just absolutely wonderful? And I think it is such a nice change to see the elephants surrounded by all this lovely lush green vegetation, rather than just fallen over marulas and dried out terminalia trees and bush willows. Remember, we are on a live safari, just in case you've just tuned in and you've just started watching. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions, you're welcome to either hashtag Safari Live, or, well, for today, you can also send us questions via email. You can do that, questions@WildEarthTV. As we watch this elephant munch away on its breakfast. Also, a young boy, a little bit older than the one we've just seen, though he's quite tall, but lovely nonetheless. Tall, long legs. Now I'm wondering if we're going to get any of the little calves popping out, but they seem to be moving further and further away into the denser vegetation. And I suspect that's to maybe just try and keep out of the rain. For the moment it's alright, but if it gets a little bit harder, it's not really too pleasant for the animals either. And they'll go off and look for a bit of shelter too. And off that bum goes. Let's turn around. Let's see if we can catch up with mom and calf that were still on their way around. Maybe they're just around the corner. Try to surprise us. They were definitely lagging behind the group. Right, so I think I've lost these two elephants. We'll have to see if we can try and relocate them again. And while we try and investigate and find these elephants, let's go back across to Jamie and see if she's having any luck with the footprints of the lions.
I am very glad to hear that you got to see some elephants with Taylor. And while you were with her, I went for a walk in the rain, and I am none the wiser for my walk in the rain. I don't quite understand the mystery of where these lions have gone, and if James has their tracks, where exactly they have popped out. Utterly baffling, but it's the difficulties of tracking where the tracks only show up in the really soft mud. So I'm going to take one last ditch attempt at following. This is a real shot in the dark. I'm going to try and follow the tracks of a large antelope that went sprinting this way and across the road just to the south of me. There's a chance that it's being chased by lions, but I mean, this is really now a shot in the dark. It really is. We're all baffled by it. There's a few of us all driving around this area trying to find these lions. They could be on Djuma. They might have somehow pulled some kind of sneaky maneuver, perhaps crossing further south where we can't drive. I'm not sure. It's a mystery. It's also somewhat damp this morning, and sorry, come to think of it, I just took out my phone to send that picture of the mystery track to James, and I just want to put it back under cover because everything's getting a little bit damp. Right, let's go and follow the running track of the antelope. Some more gentle sousing drizzle. Hopefully James and Herbie will be able to shed some light on that track. Maybe I'm just being very silly. It's possible. It is entirely possible. Okay. So one male lion went in here, and so did this running antelope. Let's go try that. And Avu, we're talking about lion tracks in deep mud, and of course they would have come away with mud all over their paws. You say, would the mud between their paws irritate them? Yes, most likely it would. We saw yesterday, it was actually a wonderful sighting of Impala that were shaking their feet. Every time they stepped in the very sticky mud, it would get stuck, and they were all shaking their hooves out. So I think all animals get a little bit annoyed by the feeling of mud on their paws. Obviously it's a reality out here, so it's not that they're going to be able to avoid it, but a lion most definitely, once it lies down, it will stop and lick the mud away from its feet. So yes, absolutely, the lions will be annoyed by the feeling of mud between their paws, and it also just it will mess with their ability to really get a grip on the soil and the earth underneath their feet. So it's something that they will find distinctly discomforting. And those of you with cats and dogs, perhaps you might have seen that before. If they walk in thick mud, they'll have a great time doing it, but afterwards the paws will be one of the first things that they'll try and clean off, just so that they can walk properly and feel the ground. I keep getting this feeling that there's lion tracks, but there aren't. And sometimes our brains are quicker than our eyes, or our eyes are quicker than our brains, or something like that. And very often when you get the impression of a track, there's a chance that it is actually there. You're just not registering it properly. We're going to have to do some windscreen wiping. And there we go. Desmond cleaning the front of the screen. It is not an unfortunate reality of the rain. It is just a reality of the rain that you're going to have to wipe the window every now and again. The rest of the animals are all hiding. So the lions are here somewhere. I don't know how they're managing to find anything to eat, because we seem to be unable to find any animals. I don't think I've seen anything since the one impala that ran away from me when I was on foot looking for the lions. No, it's your imagination. There are no lion tracks on this road. Look at these impala. They've seen something. Just hold on one moment. Now, impala have notoriously good eyesight, but not necessarily the sense to distinguish between different threats. Oh, little one, it's okay. Look at it imitating Mom's body language. Too sweet. So moms have both heard something. They might even be looking at other impala. But her body language says that something scary is out there. But when you're an impala, there's lots of scary things out there. Let's just wait and watch them for a little bit longer just to see what they do. If they start alarm calling, there's a very good chance that she spotted something. It could also be that they are seeing other impala. There we go. What you looking at, ladies? What are we seeing? Sorry, everybody, there is a bar, and it is what happens because we have to keep the show going. So we do have a roof on, and that's the black blurry patch that you were seeing. Little one is completely relaxed, stopping to have a nibble. Okay, Mom moving on. This could be interesting. Now, of course, an impala is very much under threat from a lion pride, even though it... Oh, she's running. Even though it would be a very, very small meal for them. Now, Sabrina, you're wondering, would a lion target and chase prey for a long time, or would they then move on and search for other prey? It very much depends on the situation and the condition that the lions are in. So I've seen the Nkuhumas chase buffalo well over 2 kilometers, the same buffalo herd, pushing, until they separate the herd and until one buffalo makes a mistake, because a buffalo herd as a unit is quite a strong force. So it takes lions it takes them time to try and separate one individual from the rest. But if it was an impala and they missed the chase, you're rather sinister. Sorry, just quickly. Here's a wildebeest staring at us from the gloom in the large dark shape. It's just on the left there, Desmond. You can just see it glaring at us. Okay, we're going to move on, see if we can find these lions. Let's send you back on to Taylor for some time spent with some elephants.
So we're looking at the female elephant that we saw right in the beginning when we first spotted the 3 elephants. And her behavior has become quite interesting. So she's been relaxed with us pretty much the entire time we've been here. And I gave her a bit of room because she started to tilt her head up towards the sky. She flared her ears slightly, but we were far away from her. But now I'm not convinced she's doing it towards us. And we'll sit and we'll see if she does it again. She's obviously quite relaxed. She's feeding now. But every now and then she turns very quickly and she turns to her left, so your right of the screen. You see that? See how she's listening? And then she looks down towards the drainage line. So I don't know what is in there, if she's maybe picked up a scent. You see that, how she's keeping her ears quite still? Maybe she's heard something. We all know that elephants have got the most phenomenal hearing. And this is why you have to pay attention when you're out here in the bush. It's because you may not be able to pick up something, but something like an elephant that's got incredible hearing compared to us as humans, and fantastic sense of smell, you can almost learn from them as well. You know, the lions could be lying right down in this drainage system, just sitting there quite quietly. We never know, but we'll have a look once these elephants move off and see if we can perhaps see what's upsetting her. But I highly doubt that it is us now, because she's been so relaxed with us. And we'll sit with her until she disappears. The rest of the herd is now gone right into the middle of a very, very dense block, so I don't know if we'll see them again. But we never know. This road twists and turns. Perhaps we find an area that sort of ventures further into the block and we can see a bit better. And now she's very relaxed. She seems to be just a little bit temperamental, so maybe she's stressed out about something and that's why she is a little bit on edge. Because it's strange for an elephant to go from eating very happily to all of a sudden in a panicked mode, looking around, raised her head, and then goes back to eating quite happily again. So something's obviously stressing this cow out. Hello, girl, but I'm glad to see that she has settled down now. I'm not going to move, though, just because we do look a little bit foreign. We saw it with that young elephant bull. He wasn't too certain of us with the big roof on the top of our heads, over the top of our heads, sorry. And because she is a little bit on edge, we'll just sit with her just like this, and we won't move around too much. Hello, girl. Isn't she beautiful? And off she goes. She's going to follow the same route that the others went, straight into that thicket. So I think that this is the end of these beautiful elephants, but at least they popped around just to say hello for a little bit longer. And it's made my day, and I hope it's made your day too. But James has got something dead. Let's go and see what he's sticking his hands into this time.
It is dead, everyone. Has been dead for some time. It's a buffalo. And what I wanted to show you here, well, apart from the fact that it clearly hasn't been eaten, and I think this is one of the buffalo that fell victim to the drought, of course, and then the lions kind of rejected it. One or two hyena had a perfunctory bite or so, but the rest have given up. Now, we were chatting earlier about the internal workings of a cloven-hoofed or even-toed ungulate's foot. Here we go. Let's have a look. If you look, I actually got it wrong. I always get it wrong the first time round. The carpal bones are these funny little bones in here. Those ones there. There are the carpal bones. Those are your wrist bones there. And there are 4 or 5 of them sort of in between what is essentially what would be the equivalent of your forearm, so your radius and your ulna over there, and then the phalanges, or not the phalanges, the metacarpals. There we go. The metacarpals have fused to form the foreleg. So that's the foreleg of the buffalo that I'm pointing at now, and those are the fused metacarpals. Okay, and those, if you want to know where they are on your hand, they're over here. They're those bones there. So you've got the carpals behind in your wrist, and then you've got those bones there that are fused to form this one bone here. And then here are the toes. There they are there. I think that's probably, those are the phalanges of the second toe. Those are the phalanges of probably the third toe. There, the fourth toe, and one of them the first toe. And I don't know, it's either 2 and 3 that are fused, I think, into one of the middle here, or it's 3 and 4 that are fused. So 2 and 3 and 3 and 4, one of them is fused. So I think it looks like there are only 4 toes if you sort of uncover something like this without it being slightly broken up. But that's quite interesting. So that is the foreleg structure of a buffalo like this. Then if I go around the back side of it, here, what you've got here is the back, and these two are the two, well, they're identical bones. That's the femur of the buffalo, and you can see they're very thick, quite stout though, they're quite sort of short. And that's them there. They attach, of course, to the pelvis, and there's the very obvious ball and socket joint there. That ball would have gone into that socket as this buffalo traversed the land. Yeah, so that is basically that. And of course, the reason that we had that white muscle disease scare, and indeed tragedy for 2 of those cubs, these buffalo really suffered as a result of the drought. No vitamin E and selenium in them, 1 or 2 of those deficiencies. No fat in any of the bones, of course, and therefore no fat in the organs. And therefore the lions were really struggling to get sufficient nutrition, despite the fact that they were eating huge numbers of buffalo and a great deal of protein from them. Fat, the limiting nutrient out here if you happen to be a carnivore. So that's this poor dead hapless creature. Now, down over there to the left-hand side is where Taylor is. I think she's knocking about there with those elephants. Well, she's left them now, hopefully going to find the lions. Herbert has gone off down there to find the lions, and so we're going to sort of track off after him and see if we can't find them with him. Now, what is interesting is, of course, apart from the fact that it's been raining, it's really quite difficult to find tracks in weather like this because there's been a huge amount of water on the ground, so it makes it a little bit difficult. Donut, you're saying, have I ever had a close encounter with lions on foot? Donut, I've had many close encounters with lions on foot. This is why I'm walking with caution. I find it a fairly scary experience to have an encounter with a lion on foot. I've very seldom had to do anything other than watch as they've scattered and run away. So they're not prone to leaping out of the bushes at you at all. They're much more likely to run away. And that's why I don't feel unsafe doing it, especially with Herbert in front. So while I'm talking to you, I'm obviously not concentrating entirely on the bush. I'm thinking about what I'm saying to you. But Herbie is somewhere in front here, just keeping an eye out on what's going on. Jamie did send me through that track that she was looking at, and I must confess to you that I'm slightly flummoxed by it. I will show it to her, but, sorry, David has got hitched on a tree. Watch out, David, there's another tree. Very irritating. There you are.
Thank you.
Yes, I do what I can. So when I find Herbie again, what we'll do is have a look together, but it is a bit rainy at the moment, so quite difficult to get the phone out and see. It's amazing that she's able to do that in this day and age. Laurie, you're saying something about a dew claw on zebra. Just say that again. Draft horses have a type of dew claw at the rear of the hoof. Perhaps this track is a throwback of a zebra. I think it is a zebra. I mean, I'm 90% sure that that's exactly what we're looking at here. Dave's just cleaning the lens at the moment. Could it be the dew claw? The dew claw is basically like that little bit that I showed you on the back of the buffalo's wrist there that sticks down like that. I don't think that that's what it is. I think what you'll find is it may well be a zebra that's either limping and stepped over the top of itself, or it's damaged its hoof and there's a piece of it kind of sticking out to the side. But I don't know. Snake. Ha. Well spotted, David. Isn't it lucky that you are paying attention? Now everybody, here we have what looks to me like a burrowing asp, aka a bibrons burrowing asp, I think. And this is not a snake that can be safely handled at all. What it will do, it can bite from just about anywhere. So it's got little sort of side fangs, and the side fangs will strike, so you can't actually safely hold it around the head at all. And look how fast it is. Don't worry, David, it won't attack you, I hope. Isn't that amazing? And it's got quite a nasty cytotoxic. I think it's also got a neurotoxic venom. That's very cool. And so what you do, I mean, you know that most snakes you can pick up quite successfully behind the back of the head if you're quick and you know what you're doing. I'm not one of those people. And you need the rain cover. Okay, we're getting very wet now. I think we're going to have to call it quits on this particular section. I'm afraid, guys, we're going to have to put a rain cover on this camera. Becca, can we leave you now? I'm afraid. Okay, we're going to go across to Taylor, everybody. It's now getting very rainy here. You come by the rain cover, but yeah, this is getting. This is bad. Sorry everybody, you're going to have to put up with us putting a rain cover on this camera. It's going to get completely inundated and wet any second now, and then we're going to be in trouble. Herbert, do you see that snake there? What do you think it is? Alright, Jamie is still tracking the lines. Let's go across to her while we figure out what's going on here.
Oh, it is getting a little bit damp out here, is it not? And it seems as though James has had a marvellously exciting morning with snakes and fighting tortoises. I don't know which snake he had, but it does sound fascinating. Snakes, fighting tortoises, it's all happening here. In the meantime, I've found very little. Sounds like a burrowing asp. Goodness gracious, I haven't seen a burrowing asp in a long time. Marvellous. I'm glad that the rain has brought out, it's always really, really lovely to drive after the rain. There's just something so comforting about the fact that you start to see all of this life emerging, and I say after the rain, it's still very much raining. To Herbert as well, that could well be what it is, you know, a deformed zebra. I'd love to see the zebra that left that track though. What was fascinating about it was that it was every single foot, so it's a deformity rather than an injury, because an injury of course could split a hoof, and I suppose if the growth point is damaged it could grow outwards in that way. Oh, male lion, you have walked off Arathusa and onto Hoffman's. I have just heard an update that at least one of the lions we've been trying to track is on Hoffman's. Two of them, sorry. Two male lions on Hoffman's, which unfortunately is the property to the south of our boundary, to the south of Djuma. I don't know where the Nkuhumas have gone. I don't know whether to go back to Djuma. It is a mystery. They've flown. And Michael Ketone, I actually thought originally Rebecca said Michael Keaton, and I was going to be very surprised. Michael Ketone, he wants to know whether or not any of our lions have radio collars to help us keep track of them, and if not, why not? They don't. It's generally so. There are certain animals that are fitted with collars or with some kind of a chip in order to monitor them. It's only really done where serious research is happening into that particular animal, and by serious I mean they need to be followed each and every single day. It is quite an invasive process to put a collar on an animal. Sometimes it's necessary, as we've seen with Sindile, but it does involve darting them so that they are anesthetized, which is inherently dangerous. Animals die just like people when you put them under general anesthetic. It happens with animals as well. So it is a potentially dangerous process, and it's only done really where the benefits are going to outweigh the risks involved. So whilst there are occasionally collared animals, none of the animals in this area are chipped or collared with GPS, or at least none of the cats with GPS collars or microchips. And it could kind of ruin the fun. Half the fun is in the search. And because there are so many vehicles moving around this area, and there are lots and lots and lots of guides moving about, they are constantly looking, seeing the animals, tracking the animals. They actually don't need to, because we've really got a very, very good idea. If not all of the time, certainly most of the time. We might not know exactly where they are, but we do know roughly where they are. And all of that data gets recorded by an organization called Panthera. So they keep track of each and every single animal that we see. No, that's not true. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Obviously, they don't keep track of every impala we see. I mean the big cats, ground hornbills, wild dogs, hyena, cheetah, the seriously threatened predators out here. And that is what they are dedicated to recording, and once a year we get a really lovely overview of all of the different sightings of that animal from different vehicles. Every single lodge will record where they have seen the animal, what they were doing, did they have a kill, were they alone, were they mating, did they have cubs with them, and it really creates a very comprehensive picture. After a while you get a really nice idea. You can imagine every single sighting recorded of Karula over the last year, the queen of Djuma, the female leopard. Every single sighting recorded on a map. gives you a really nice idea of the patterns of their movement. And it's something that I used to do extensively where I worked before, was map out the positions of the animals and really get an idea. It made finding them very, not easy, but it certainly made it easier, because you could start over the years, you could start to see these are the paths that they walk in the dry season, these are the paths that they walk in the wet season, these are their favorite areas. It really, it did sort of solidify our knowledge of the different movements of the different animals. You don't need GPS collars. We've got this. But certain animals, elephants, I've seen elephants with collars, I've seen buffalo with collars, they are monitored because they're a lot harder, they move a much greater distance, they don't have set territories, they're a lot harder to monitor. So having a GPS collar that pings a location once a day or twice a day is a really lovely way of building up an idea of the movement of these animals. I give up on these lions. I don't know where they've gone, nobody knows where they've gone, they have vanished. Speaking of the lions, who could at this stage be anywhere, because they're probably still moving in this weather. Okay, one last road I'm going to check. Now, babe, you want to know how vast a lion's territory can be. Well, first of all, let's distinguish between a territory and a home range, because generally all animals have home ranges, and a lot of them have territories as well. A home range is the entire area that they will move about in throughout that generation of that animal, or those generations of that animal, and that tends to be a lot larger than the territory that they actively spend the most amount of time in and will actively defend. So a territory of a pride of lions very much depends on the concentration of prey and the competition from other lions. So if you've got lots of lions in an area, territories are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. If you've got lots and lots of prey, their territories will be slightly smaller, because who needs to waste energy moving about when your food's right there? And essentially that's what it is. It's competition for food. That's what a territory is largely for, is to keep other animals away. Oh, this is what all of our animals have been doing this morning. You guys feeling a little damp? So Nabib, you're looking at probably roughly about 4,000 to 8,000 hectares, depending on the size of the pride, depending on the area that you're in. Now that's roughly Djuma, Arathusa and Buffelshoek all together. Hello, gorgeous girl. And this is what a lot of the creatures out here are doing at the moment. Having a little rest. Lying down, sheltering slightly from the rain. Well, there's no real shelter, but at least from the breeze, once they are damp. And ruminating. I don't suppose you ladies have seen any lions anywhere, have you? You would have told me, wouldn't you? Yes, you would have. Not intentionally, but you would have told me. That deep booming bark of a Kudu alarm call would have given them away immediately. She looks as though she's been drinking from a really foamy cup of hot chocolate with a dollop of cream on the top. And now she's got a cream moustache. Or is that just my imagination? She does. She looks as though she's had a lovely cup of hot chocolate with cream. A foamy moustache. Yes, my girl. Sorry, I'm not being insulting. It was just when you turned your head that way. These antelope are sitting and ruminating. Research, of course, has shown that when animals like this ruminate, their brain waves often imitate the brain waves of us in deep sleep. So what she's doing is she's sitting, she's bringing up balls of food from the pit of her stomach into her mouth, chewing it, and then re-swallowing it once again. And these animals, antelope like Kudu, don't really have the opportunity to spend much time fast asleep, as you can imagine. A sleeping Kudu is a very vulnerable thing. Having a couple of eyes will help, but they only really doze for a couple of minutes at a time, which is why it's important that the brain gets the rest that it needs from sitting and ruminating like this, and essentially going into that sleep pattern. Because as you know, one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a human being is to be deprived of sleep. I can't remember, how long is it that you can go for without sleep? It's not long. think it's only a couple of days before your brain really starts to freak out and people start hallucinating and becoming delirious. Fortunately, that's not a problem that we have out here in the bush. We're early to bed. Very early up, but also very early to bed. But antelope have managed to avoid the necessity of falling completely deeply asleep by ruminating. Lions, as a complete contrast, are expert sleepers. They don't have to worry about missing out on any sleep at all. And they can sleep for 20 hours a day. I don't think our lions are sleeping, though. I just can't work out where they are. It's so frustrating. I'm desperately trying to figure it all out. And speaking of figuring things out, let's head back over to James so that he can show you a track.
I am indeed going to show you a track. Well, almost it was obliterated by the great foot of David, but he managed to just miss it. There is a male lion track. And, well, I know Jamie showed you lots of tracks today of lions, but there is a male lion track. It's roughly the size of my palm, which I'm not going to put on the floor there on account of the fact that it will make the camera angle very awkward indeed. But there is my palm. I don't have a very big palm. It's lion tracks about that size. Now they've headed off in this direction. We were getting quite excited about them, but we know that one track has crossed onto Arathusa way to the sort of northwest of where we are now. But there was only one track. There were two lions here, two males. They definitely killed something sometime during the night just over here, and so we'll follow this and see where it goes for the next little while and see what we can come up with. Now, just on that snake that we were looking at before we had to cut away because of the rain, I called it a Biberon's burrowing asp, and that's what I think it used to be called, but I think it's now called a stiletto snake, which is that sort of very handleable snake that will bite you from both sides. And so you've got to be very careful of those snakes. Let us carry on. Now, Taxon has been around here with his guests, so I don't think those lions are anywhere very close by. But we'll just see what we can find. Conditions like this, I'm afraid, for tracking are really very difficult indeed, unless the tracks are very fresh. Now, those lions seem to have walked on top of the last heavy rain, but of course the squalls have been coming throughout the day, so we're not really sure. Herbie's just going to follow up sort of to the right-hand side there. We'll go down and check on the fringe of the drainage line here and see if he isn't lying under a bushel somewhere here with his salon quality hair looking a little bit matted and flattened by the weather. I wonder if he has a problem with frizz. Do you think so, David?
Yeah, sure.
I believe that ladies sometimes have a problem with frizz in their hair. Do you have that problem when your hair gets wet?
No.
Not. I don't either. Dave and I were just we were talking about gags that we use as guides, especially when we don't have much to see. And when Jamie asked the Kudu, of course, where the lion was, I thought to myself how often I've done exactly the same thing. You go past an antelope or something and you say, "Have you seen the lion?" Normally they don't answer, of course. And the other gag that I use regularly is to make a comment on hair and then say, "Well, of course it doesn't affect mine." It must be very old for some of you. What is that bird? Oh, I think it's a ground scraper thrush. You're not going to see it, I'm afraid. It's flown off into some thick bush. Now, we're heading into some thicker stuff here, so we'll be a little bit quiet. A lion is unlikely to be out in a clearing on a day like this, because it is, well, it's frankly inescapably foul at this stage. So we'll walk very carefully along here and just make sure that this fellow isn't lying under a bush where he will go if he sees us, which will make us do that, and then we'll back off slowly. Really? Okay, we're going to have to link away. I'm afraid it's starting to rain again quite strongly, so we'll try and get the cover from Herbert. Let's go across to Taylor and find out how her search is going.
And we're driving towards Chele Pan to have another look around here, because I'm not so convinced that these lions are, really trying to hide from us. I think that they could just be lying under here. Now, definitely as the rain's coming ahead, like you just saw James having to put the rain covers on, I reckon that they're just looking for a bit of shelter, and it hasn't been the most pleasant morning anyway, so I don't blame them for probably just away taking a bit of time. Maybe they're waiting for actual TV show, they're prepping themselves, but I don't know. But we're having another look, and we're just going to go round and around, and I say this all the time, and everyone will back me up, is that you can drive the same road 100 times, but on the 101st time you'll see something that you didn't see before, or something has moved out into a spot where you can see it a bit better. Now we can hear a woodlands kingfisher, there it is, but I don't know if we're going to be able to, no, and it's gone now. It's quite difficult to do birding when you've got the roof overhead, but I'm sure you've seen plenty of beautiful woodland kingfishers over the last couple of weeks, seen as though they've made their return. Now, I wanted to continue telling, if you did watch the pre-drive, I was telling you about how clumsy I've been, or accident prone I think is the best way to describe what's happening to me over the past 3 weeks. But I basically hurt my foot running, then I hurt my neck and had to go to the doctor. Then I walked about 10 kilometers in flip-flops around Fort Lauderdale, which was not a clever idea. Also hurt my foot doing that. Then I came back to work and played rugby and hurt my ankle because I fell into a hole after the second tumble. Then I also, what else did I do last night was very funny, and I'm sure all the girls are giggling away in final control. But just ask James, we must definitely bring it up. We have to ask James about what happened to him last night on the bench, because that was something that was quite hilarious. And then I thought it was so funny, and I was like so badly. And basically what happened was, as I was racing towards Rebecca to tell her the fantastic news of what I've just seen, what everybody else had just seen, she missed it, I hit some sandbags that have been placed there to try and keep the rain from flooding us out in the DRC, and they're a new addition, so I'm still getting used to them. But I ran, you know me, I commit, and I ran at full speed, hit the sandbags, and I think I could have done a somersault. I could have did a big tumble and just landed on the floor, and then I grazed my knee. I don't know when we call them in South Africa, we call them roasties. If you fall on your knee and you get a scrape. But it was hysterical, and like we do at the DRC, everyone, are you okay? And as soon as I knew I was fine and was not seriously injured, well then myself included, we all roared with laughter for about 15 minutes. Not one of us could talk. So I think we're okay for our gym session today, Rebecca, if you are listening. I think we did abs last night, and anybody else that's wondering about it. But Rebecca says she's happy about that. It's a bit miserable to go running in this weather too, isn't it? But it's lovely out here. Now, I'm going to try Twin Dams Road one last time, give it one last go. And if we don't get... if we don't come right here, then we'll probably move out of the area completely. But let's keep our fingers crossed, and maybe we come back to you with some lions. But let's go back across to Jamie and see how her drizzly mizzle morning is going.
It's not miserable, it's just slightly damp. I have to tell you, Shane, poor Taylor, she was so stoic about that fall, because when I saw her go down, I really thought she actually was going to seriously hurt herself. She also looked as though she was going to tackle Rebecca, which was, once we realized she was okay, it was utterly hilarious. Taylor also has a tendency, wherever she sits down next to me, to spill something on me. I don't know how she does it. I don't quite know what it is, but it's become a little bit of an in-joke. Every time she sits down at the table next to me, I move all of the things away from her so she can't knock them down. No, she was seriously stoic about that particular trip over the sandbag, and it's usually me. So I'm quite impressed that somebody else has taken that particular role on this week. I keep seeing zebra tracks now, which keep tricking me into thinking they are lions, but they're most definitely not. Let's go and have a look, since I am completely flummoxed as to where these lions have gone. Let's go and have a look at Arathusa Dam and see whether the rain over the last few days has helped to bolster its levels. I haven't been here in a very, very long time, and I want to see whether or not there's any water and what it's looking at like. The last time I was here, I think, properly here, it was basically dry. Don't think we've had enough rain to really replenish its levels, but let's go and have a look. There's always the chance of the Egyptian geese. Arathusa Dam seems to be the Egyptian goose capital of our Traverse area. There's always lots of them, usually with little babies or goslings in tow. It might be nice to go and have a look there. Oh dear. It's looking depressingly dry. Red Dam has got plenty of water. I was there earlier looking for the lions. They were not there, but there was lots of water. So there is water for animals to drink. But Arathusa Dam is looking somewhat desolate. Hold on a minute. We'll come around the corner and we can have a look. I'm enjoying the driving rain and the wind. Wow. No, unfortunately, it doesn't look as though Arathusa Dam has been helped out by the rain at all. It's going to take a little bit more than the rain we've had to replenish its stock. And I'm going to hazard a guess and say that some poor hapless creature found itself stuck in the mud there, judging by the skeletons that are, or the skeleton perhaps, that's scattered in the middle of it. Buffalo. That is really truly desolate, and just a reminder that we're not in the clear just yet. The rains may have come, but they've still got a long way to go to make up for the damage that has been done by the dry season. Sad sight. Okay, well, there's definitely nothing to see here. It's hard to believe that a year ago we were watching the jacanas, the hippos, the lilies on top of the surface of the water, the catfish. It is such a different world now. The change is absolute. Let's move on. It's quite sad. Quite depressing. And there's nothing. Egyptian geese. There was one yellow-billed kite, but it's flown away. Not even the fish eagles that used to live around here are here anymore. I suppose there's nothing for them to fish. Just wondering whether we might need to... No, we're still okay. I was thinking about putting down the sides of this. The yellow-billed kite, not western kite, the yellow-billed kite is going to keep flying and not do what I expected it to do. Let me try and make Desmond's life easier here. I'm actually not making his life easy at all because it's an impossible bird. I'm sorry, Desmond. You're gonna go for it. There we go. Well done. Bravo. Very typical tail shape that immediately tells you it is one of the kites. And the yellow bill is what tells us it is a yellow-billed kite. If if it didn't fly straight over our heads and above the roof. They're busy casting about. You very seldom see them land, which is why I had that surprised tone a little bit earlier. Hey, there's water there. Look, there's a little bit of water. Just a fraction. Here we go. So the dam is slowly refilling. Hard to believe that used to be an island. But there you go, there is a bit of water here. Oh dear. And another buffalo carcass. Alright, no, let's move on from here. It's getting a bit miserable. Okie dokie. Let us head back over to Taylor and find out whether she is surviving her morning uninjured and intact.
Luckily, I haven't hurt myself again this morning. I did drop a few things in my room though, I must admit. But these Impala look like they're having, I think, a worse day than I am. I always find that they look so miserable when they are a little bit on the wet side. Let's see if we can get a better view though. So what I'll do is we just got to go forward, take a wide berth, and then we'll reposition again. But they are disappearing and moving off, I think, to find a bit of a better shelter, I suppose, because they were sitting out in the open, and well, with the rain, that's not going to keep them very dry. Oh, there we go, there they actually all are sitting at the back. I'm going to disappear, but it's quite a big herd of them, mixture of males and females and young boys, as you can see, the ones we're looking at now. And well, they won't be in this herd for too much longer. Once their new siblings, you can see that little lamb just laying in the grass in front of Mom. Once they start to get a little bit older, Mom's going to become a lot less tolerant of these younger boys. And you can already see they're hanging around on the outskirts. And they'll have to join up with a bachelor group and probably live a couple of years with them until they get big enough and strong enough to be able to challenge some of the top dogs out here. You can actually see their beautiful markings, those follow me signs on their rumps. And it's lovely. All the moms standing up feeding, all the little lambs, you just see their little ears twitching, normally sitting right in front of Mom as she keeps a close eye on them. It looks like Mom and Lamb having a grooming session on the bottom right there. Isn't that lovely? And that's what they'll do, especially for these first couple of months that are so vital. The little one needs to learn Mom's call, which will be unique from the others. Learn Mom's smell. And of course, the best way to do those types of things and strengthen the relationship between Mom and Lamb is, well, to just take a break during the day from feeding and, well, to groom each other and show each other a little bit of affection. And someone obviously forgot to tell these Impala that Movember is over, because you can see that female that's staring straight at us has got a perfect moustache, don't you think, Brian? It almost looks like it's curled up on the tips as well. You're going to have to get the razor out and shave that off, my dear. No, I'm just teasing, of course. This is beautiful, and that's one of the unique markings that the Impala have on them. And, you know, it's something that I didn't ever notice before, is those beautiful white eyebrows that they seem to have. I don't know why that didn't stand out. Was it just me, or does it look a lot more prominent on this female? Anyway, whatever it may be, it's just beautiful to sit and watch that little lamb taking a suckle. It's obviously all quite difficult to see with all the leaves that are around us. But that's okay. It's beautiful out here this morning. It's actually not miserable at all. Bit of a drizzle, but it's not too cold. And at least we're seeing a lot of different things today. And have we done the checklist? I wonder. I always think on a rainy day, you've got to see a snail, an African land snail. You've got to see a millipede, and either a terrapin or a tortoise, and then, of course, a frog. So I think we've done 3 out of the 4. We've done that. We managed to find the African land snail. We saw the millipede with James. And I think we saw the tortoises with James as well. James is on a roll. Now all we need to do to complete the morning is if we can find a little frog somewhere. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And I have yet to see my favorite little rain frog. One day. You can't have it all, I suppose you can't have it all at once. You've got to have a bit of time. But it's lovely. You can see a gentle breeze as well. But bye-bye, Impala, as they move further off. Everybody's just moving away from us today. And at least we got to have a little glimpse of Impala little lambs and the interactions between their mothers. We're actually on Ingwe Alley at the moment. What's that up there? Is that a stick? I'm going to have a quick look. I don't know if I'm seeing something. Can you see it? Can you see it? Do you know exactly what I'm looking at? What is that? It's a stick. That stick looked very much like a snake skin, but it isn't, of course. And, well, that was a foiled attempt at trying to spot something. Let's go back over to James, who actually has a critter to show you.
We've stopped here mainly to look at a millipede, but there are some impala now galloping past us. Now galloping the other way. I don't think they've seen us. But such a lovely sound. But we have a millipede here that is devouring mushrooms. These mushrooms have just popped up on this dung pile, and look at him eating the mushrooms. He's having a delightful Monday morning breakfast of mushrooms and a gorgeous gossamer spider's web covered in little raindrops. Thank you, Rebecca, for pointing that out. Isn't that wonderful, watching the millipede eating his mushrooms? Selecting for them very specifically, even though he has the brain roughly the size of half a millimeter. Still, he has the capability to choose the breakfast that he wants to eat, selecting mushrooms. I think this is wonderful. It has been really rather a nasty weathered morning, but we've seen some incredible things, and I specifically was impressed, of course, by those tortoises. But now our second millipede sighting of the day, the millipede now getting into its defensive mode because David has terrified the life out of it. David, never mind, just keep the camera kind of where it is. Do you see the grass tuft here?
Yes.
Underneath it is a very well hidden grasshopper. Can you see the grasshopper? It's so well hidden that you can't, but I don't really want to touch it. It's about 2 inches in front of my baby finger.
Ah, yes.
You got him there. Now, he's just landed there, of course. Now, all of the insects, if they are out in this weather, which very few of them are much easier to film because they are much less mobile on account of the fact that they're cold. And so they really are not very good at moving around in weather like this. They're totally cold-blooded, totally dependent on the ambient temperature for their warmth. And so when it's a little bit chilly like this, they're much more sluggish and less likely to buzz around and hop off in the case of this grasshopper. I think he's wonderfully well disguised there. Anyway, David has terrified the millipede off its mushroom breakfast, so I'm afraid it's going to have to... Well, it's coming out now. Let's see, we'll get one more chance. Here we go. Well, look at this, Winter Prism. While we're watching it now, a very good question. You said they clean their feet like many of the other little critters. I think you'll probably find they do. The most important thing for many of these insects, and, well, this isn't an insect, of course, but many of the invertebrates to clean are their antennae. They all do that quite fastidiously. Especially the beetles and the grasshoppers and the cockroaches. They spend a lot of time cleaning their antenna because it's through their antenna that they perceive the world. That's how they smell. It's not how they see, but it's really, it's a hugely important part of how they understand what's going on around them. And of course I mean understand in the most basic sense of the word. There we go, the millipede is back out on his hunt for mushrooms. Delicious. I wonder if we could eat these. I'm not going to try. Might hallucinate for the rest of the day. That would be no good, would it, David? We have a television show to practice for later on. So just to remind you, you will not be joining us this afternoon on the Sunset Safari. We are having a private rehearsal so that we can do all the things that we have to do for our TV show, which is on Thursday afternoon from 4 to 6. Right, let's carry on from here, David. Are you able to get up?
Yes.
There, well done, well done. Now, Jason Jones, I'm going to ask your question again. You said something about a millipede explosion, which I didn't hear anything after that. Ah. Right. Okay, got it now. Jason, a nice one from you. You're wondering about there seem to be a lot of millipedes around, which of course there are, and you say given the drought and therefore the absence of many other invertebrates perhaps, would it be that the millipedes could travel further up the food chain? Would there be things that would eat them that wouldn't normally because of the lack of other things for those things to eat? The answer is probably no. Just as bad affected by the drought as any other animal have, in fact possibly even more so. They just like to come out in the rain, and they're just a lot more obvious in the rain, so I don't think that there are actually any more of them present than there would be any other of the animals that animals eat. You okay there for now, David? Then the other thing, of course, is that a millipede, as you're probably alluding to there, has an exoskeleton filled with cyanide, which is not a very good substance for most creatures. It would kill many of them. It's certainly been used as a human poison. And so many animals are completely unable to eat millipedes, and that wouldn't change. So even if millipedes had become a lot more numerous proportionately than many of the other invertebrates, I don't think that it would result in a greater number of others eating them, simply because they have that cyanide. And I think it would be very difficult for anything other than, for example, the scorpions, the burrowing scorpions, and perhaps the cicada to eat them. So no, Jason, I don't think that would be the case. Right, Jamie Patterson has managed to find another mammal. Good heavens, her cup runneth over. Let's go and find out what it is.
Well, wonders never cease. We did indeed manage to find another mammal, although he is proving to be quite reluctant in terms of getting him on camera. But there we go. He has finally stopped. Another mammal in the form of our blue wildebeest bull that lives around this area, and he is currently, much like our big cats, scent marking. So a lot of our big cats, especially the males, will be busy reasserting themselves in their territories, and this blue wildebeest is no different. So male blue wildebeest will, in this area, mind you, because their behavior differs from place to place, but in this area they will establish themselves a territory that they will vigorously defend against outsiders. And that's the way in which they attract ladies. So rather than trying to collect a harem in the way of, say, a zebra, a blue wildebeest will try and establish a really nice spot, somewhere with plenty of water, some good grass to eat, in the hope that that will in turn draw the ladies to him, bring the ladies to him. Essentially a totally different approach to a zebra stallion that essentially kidnaps a mare and then keeps her with him until she's basically bonded to him. The wildebeest has a much more almost passive approach. Establishes his territory, keeps it safe from other wildebeest, and that is the way that he goes about his day. So he's been scent marking, that's what he was doing. Particularly clear with wildebeest, they have glands on their faces. Very pungent smell. If you go up to trees where a wildebeest is clearly, because they will have regular scent marking posts, if you go up to the tree that they often rub their heads on, you'll see it's rubbed smooth, and there'll often be wildebeest hair caught in the bark, and there's a very distinctive musky scent attached to that particular tree. Sorry, I was just trying to hear whether or not they'd found the Nkuhumas, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like they've flummoxed all of us. They have pulled the wool over all of our eyes. Hello, mister. Don't go. Here we go. Sorry, everybody. I just stopped. I don't want to move again because he's going to disappear if we do. There he is. Tail swishing. Got lots of work to do. They'll also scrape their feet to get the scent of their interdigital or the pedal glands onto the ground. And they'll have regular spots where they do that as well, which is why the back hooves of a wildebeest, the tips are always rubbed smooth. Very handsome. I like wildebeest. They're always sort of dismissed as being quite ugly creatures. I think they're fascinating. Very powerfully built. You can see that this is an animal that will run and run and run. They are natural athletes and they're natural long-distance runners. They're marathon runners of the bush. One of the fastest and able to maintain that speed for a considerable period of time. There he's scraping. I don't want to move because if I move, he's gonna stop doing it. He might even be thinking about lying down and having a bit of a roll. But if I move now, he's gonna stop. Which is unfortunate because there is a very large roof bar in our way. Oh well. There was a time where we would have had to rushed back home to camp in this kind of rain. Now with these roofs we can stay out and enjoy all aspects of life out here, even when it's drizzling. There's the brindled colour across his back. Twitching because of the flies. Which way are you going to go, mister? And that's what we've really been missing out on this year, I feel, is the wildebeest herds. We haven't seen any of the females with their babies on Djuma. Very sad. Much in the same way that we failed to find the lions this morning, and that's quite sad too. But tomorrow is another, no, not tomorrow, this afternoon. I was going to say this afternoon is another day, but that doesn't make any sense either. It is unfortunately the end of our sunrise safari. So a big thank you to Desmond, well done Desmond, and a big thank you to all of you. I'll catch up with you on this sunset safari. Bye-bye everybody.
Dong, dong. We're now going to be selling some t-shirts and all sorts of wonderful goodies for this Christmas spirit. We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Remember to get all your goodies, you go to shop.WildEarth.tv and will there be wonderful little things for you to head on to. But remember, 14th of December is the closing date, so you better get shopping quickly. Now, unfortunately, we're coming into the final last minutes, but I hope you had a wonderful show. I'm so happy that we got to see the elephants this morning, and well, we'll see what this afternoon holds for us. But from myself and Brian, it's been absolutely wonderful. The thumb says thanks to. Let's go across to James, who I'm sure would like to say goodbye to.
Well, I fell off the bench last night, everybody, and I've managed to keep things going thus far, but I'm afraid the extent of our walk has now rendered me... I've succumbed to my injuries. What happened last night was that we were sitting on a bench, a bench of extremely suspect quality, I might add, and we leaned back on it as one does of a Sunday evening. Why shouldn't one, really? It's been a tough week, and it gave way, and on my right-hand side, Mrs. Wallington fell in the sand. To my left, Stefan the Mystic Farmer fell to the left onto the ground, and I swung backwards, and my short and otherwise fairly ineffectual legs locked underneath the tabletop, and I managed to survive, not falling onto the ground. Now, of course, in a situation like this, what I find so interesting is that nobody gives a flying hoot for the safety of those who've fallen to the ground. All they do is fall about laughing. Kirsten turned bright red, redder than her hair, giggling away. Taylor walked round the corner, started laughing at it all, at herself, and then, of course, Karma came to bite her, and she fell over a sandbag onto her bottom, and I was deeply satisfied that Karma had taken its revenge. That is the story of the bench last night. Thank you so much. Right, we're on our way home. Thank you for coming on our walk with us today. I do think we had the most spectacular time with those tortoises having their fight there. Wasn't that just great, watching them there? Anyway, I hope we'll find them again. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. That's going to be it from us today. We will see you only tomorrow, I'm afraid, at about 5 o'clock in the morning. Probably actually exactly 5 o'clock in the morning. Until then, stay safe and happy wherever you are, and I hope that the wilderness touches you and makes you very pleased.